take a look at Galileo's scope. Okay, we're now ready then to make our final shot using Galileo's scope so that we can make the comparison with the two earlier scopes. You're going to see a dramatically different view this time when we look through Galileo's scope. Bear in mind he didn't have the advantage we've got here of this slow motion astroengineering product that we're using here, the Aztec mounting. He wouldn't have had access to this kind of engineering, and that really will impact quite sharply on the performance of the telescope. The quality of the mounting certainly impacted in a way that was not favourable when Galileo was doing demonstrations of the telescope. Anyway, without further ado, let's actually put our camera system. This is the same mounting that we were using on the previous one over there, and I'm just going to power the scope up. You should actually be able to see down here on the right hand side of your screen what the camera is actually seeing. There we go, so there's the camera, there's the telescope, and I'm now going to put that in position on the instrument and just do it up. And straight away you can see a dramatically different view. It really looks quite preposterous, that tiny little spot that we've got there. Later on we're hoping to show you a view possibly of the moon. At the very least, we're going to have it out at night and give you a view, show you through this telescope again, giving you a view of the moon. That's coming up soon. Now, this is that cheat I was telling you about earlier. I'm actually going to zoom in on that slightly, because I think if we leave it like that, it's going to be quite weak. So I'm just going to zoom in on that slightly so that you can see a bit more of the detail. But that initial spot is very characteristic of the first really quite shocking view you get when you look through Galileo's scope. It does seem to be a very long way in the distance, that spot that you're actually looking at there. The first big difference you can see straight away is that the image is corrected. Everything is actually up the right way. You notice this time we've got sky above Ely Cathedral where it ought to be. I'm just going to scan across onto the right hand side there of the west tower of Ely Cathedral, and you can see that left hand column there. If I bring the scope back slightly, you can now see that Gothic window in the middle, and I'm going to go back over here onto the right hand side, and you can see quite a bit of detail. It's a very soft image, but you can actually see quite a bit of detail here, and that would have been an amazing view in the early part of the 17th century. Very few people would have seen anything like this at all. Okay, it's not a stunning night, but we're out here now looking at the moon through through Galileo's telescope. And there we go. We're getting an image here. That little cutout that you can see there on the right-hand side, that's the Bay of Rainbows, Sinus Iridium. Very clear and distinct. It's a bit grimy because the moon's quite low down, but I think it's good enough for our purposes. I'm just going to scan down. Let me just get my bearings here. Okay, I'm scanning down. I think that was Kepler we just went past there. There's Grimaldi, very distinctive. Let me just see if I can... whoops, taking it out of the field of view. There we go. Okay, bring it back on again. You can see there's a group of craters there, very distinctive. Again, note that the moon is the right way up, but the field of view really is lamentable at around about 15 arc minutes. And bear in mind we're doing that little cheat again, we're slightly zoomed in here. But that group of craters there is quite distinct. Let's just move back up along the terminator a little way. I think you can see this is now our biggest cheat is we've got this on a slow motion mount. Galileo had nothing like this. Can't see anything I recognise there at all. I know what should be there, but can't honestly say. Okay, we're back on Sinus Iridium again. Okay, I think that's a useful illustration anyway of what we needed to see. Okay, you've seen the videos now. I don't think I really need to talk much more about what you've actually seen. I think the video really makes it pretty clear of just what a challenge Galileo's telescope actually is. Let's just tick off the difficulties with the instrument again. We've got that 15mm aperture at the front end here at the objective. We've got the long 900mm focal length. We've got the difficulty of mounting the telescope, the incredibly narrow field of view created by the eyepiece on this instrument, the eyepiece that uses a plano-concave lens element. I'm just going to show you that very quickly. Here's the design. This isn't actually out of this telescope, but it's a very similar design to the eyepiece lens that's actually used. It's flat on one side and dished on the other. The best way I can actually show you the dish is drop a ball bearing on there and just show you that rocking backwards and forwards there. The ball bearing is retained by that dished shape used by the eyepiece. Now it's this lens, it's this plano-concave negative lens that is actually doing all the damage to this instrument. It would be a lot easier to use with a convex lens, but Galileo elected to use a concave lens for a number of reasons, all of them sound, and it really makes this telescope difficult to use to start with. You'll tend to see in the literature that this telescope is described as having a 15 arc-minute field of view. The reality is that when you get a chance to look through the telescope, you will actually see as an observer that that 15 arc minutes is variable, and depending on the condition of the observer's eye, it will fluctuate and go down to as little as 9 arc minutes and possibly even 8, depending on the age and character of the eye of the observer. Let me try to explain. When you're looking through the telescope and your eye is one eye is fully engaged, anything that your other eye, the eye that's not engaged in the observation, if it's seeing the side of the telescope, and as a result the lens in your eye is being compressed so that it's thicker in the middle to accommodate this near view, the field of view of the instrument is going to go down. It's actually going to be restricted. So you're going to see less than 15 arc minutes. Also, when your eye adapts to the limited illumination in the telescope, you'll start to get a larger field of view, up to your 15 arc minutes. But anything, any brightness causing your eye to be restricted, you're going to see a more limited field of view. Now you add those two ideas together, the limited field of view caused by the focus point of your eye, add to it the reduction in field of view caused by the exit pupil, or the pupil size of your eye rather, together with the very narrow field of view anyway, the difficulty of holding the telescope steady, the immense amount of patience required at the eyepiece before your eye kind of gets in the zone so that you can see that full 15 arc minute view, I think it's easy to understand some of the challenges that Galileo faced when he tried to convince others to look through his telescope and see the same things that he was seeing. It really is a very difficult and challenging instrument to use, and without a great deal of patience and frankly quite a bit of goodwill from the observer, it's really going to be quite difficult to confirm some of the things that Galileo actually saw with the telescope.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
It's really going to be quite difficult to confirm some of the things that Galileo actually saw with the telescope.
This is Houston. Say again, please. This is Houston. Say again, please.